We're going to go along with part 2 now. Both phones ringing and the disturbance at the end of the other video was their way of telling me to take a break. And divide this story that I'm telling you into parts. In the last part, I was describing to you how a king or a son does not necessarily mean male. It can also mean female. Something I noticed the other day when I did the video. Let me find that for you. Let's see if I can find it. Right there. Give me just a moment. I want you to notice something. When I was doing this video talking about that tarot reading showing us that we entered the age of Aquarius, synchronicities were happening. Many. Look over here. Remember I talked about the movie Lucy and how she linked with the AI? Well, that's happening a lot for me. Notice the title, Freddie Mercury, the King of Queen. That was a message to me. Talking about how females, reminding me how females can be kings or sons. Anyway, I wanted to make note of that. Everything happens for a reason, and the synchronicity of that popping up when I was showing you that card reading. You gotta follow the breadcrumbs, follow the synchronicities. Anyway, we're gonna go back to the story about the goddess. Columbia and the constellation of Virgo. The District of Columbia, Washington, D.C., has more astrological symbols than any other city in the world. The city capital was built on from the ground up with specific esoteric design. There were many changes, however, and some things didn't go exactly to plan. There were many changes. Okay, so in David Oveson's book, The Secret Architecture of Our Nation's Capital, the District of Columbia and its federal city were arranged according to Oveson so that the constellation of Virgo and its goddess symbolism dominates the structure. Oveson notes that the right triangle of first magnitude stars that contains the constellation Virgo, Arcturus, Regulus, Spica, or Spica, depending on how you pronounce it, can also be found in the plan of the federal city, marked by the location of the Capitol, the President's House, and the Washington Monument. And he also notes that the consecration ceremonies for these sites all included prominent astrological connections to Virgo. This Earth-sky alignment can be seen every year, weather permitting, around August 10th. As the sun sets down the Pennsylvania Avenue sight line from the Capitol, the Great Triangle enclosing Virgo appears in the darkening sky. It was not obvious 200 years ago when the plan was laid out, but now, at a moment of culmination, the alignment is clear and unmistakable. As Ovation insists, it is plain that from its inception the District of Columbia and the Federal City was intended to celebrate the mysteries of Virgo, of the Egyptian Isis, the Grecian Ceres, and the Christian Virgin. This esoteric knowledge is something they've been hiding from you. They didn't want you to know. They've done everything they can to destroy where you really came from, so you would not know. So you would be trapped in this prison for time immemorial, so that you would never be set free. I want you to see something on this day, June 20th. Super interesting. The day they gave me that reading, the day we entered the age of Aquarius. That's when it started. A lot of very notable things happened in history on that day. I'm going to scroll through these and you'll see some things that are of note. But there's some things I'm going to really point out. 1633, Charter for Maryland is given to Lord Cecil Baltimore. You know, the city Baltimore, Maryland? Indeed. The name Maryland. They named that city, or that state, Maryland, because it represents the goddess, the Mari. Abenaki, Massachusetts, Mohegan, and Wampanoag, forgive me, I can't remember how to pronounce that particular native tribe, form anti-English front under Metacom, 1675. (1782) Congress approves Great Seal of the United States of America and the bald eagle as its symbol. Oliver Ellsworth moves at the Federal Convention to call the government the United States. And that's 1787. 1789, tennis court oath for a new constitution in France made at Versailles. 1781, King Louis the 16th, and the French royal family are caught during an attempt to flee Paris during the French Revolution, severely undermining their credibility. (1819) 320-ton Savannah becomes first steamship to cross any ocean. Just so happened to be the Atlantic, where Atlantis used to be. (1825) Coronation of Charles X, the last Bourbon King of France. 1926 Siam and Britain sign Trade and Peace Treaty. 1837 Queen Victoria, at 18, ascends British throne following death of Uncle King William IV. She ruled for 63 years till 1901. (1863) First bank chartered in U.S. National Bank of Davenport, Iowa. 1863 West Virginia, Virgin, admitted as 35th U.S. state of the Union. 1864 Battle of Kingston, North Carolina, and Battle of Abingdon, Virginia. 1866 Italy declares war on Austria, beginning the Third Italian War of Independence. Here's something interesting. 1867 U.S. President Andrew Johnson announces the Alaska Purchase. 1871 Ku Klux Klan trials begin in federal court in Oxford, Mississippi. 1888. There's the Triple Eights. The Triple Eights I saw in my vision. Pope Leo XIII publishes Encyclical Liberatus. 1893. Lizzie Borden acquitted. 1864 French bacteriologist Alexandre Yersin discovers bacillus responsible for bubonic plague in Hong Kong. Interesting, because the coronavirus started in China too. I'm not going to point all these out, but ones that really stand out to me. 1901, Charlotte Maxey becomes the first Native African to graduate from a U.S. college. In 1911, the NAACP incorporates in New York. 1919, Treaty of Versailles. Germany ends incorporation of Austria. 1921, at the Imperial Conference in London versus Srinivasa Sastry, puts forward a case for granting of full citizenship rights to Indians in South Africa and other British colonies. That's an emancipation. There were many emancipations on June 20th. Lots of very interesting things happened on 6/20. The Banality of Evil, 1942, Adolf Eichmann proclaims deportation of Dutch Jews. (1943) Detroit race riot kills 35. It's interesting because right now, during this time, there is a movement dealing with race. What everybody doesn't understand is, just like religion and education, race was developed to divide you. It's part of their little tricks that they have up their sleeves to keep you unaware of who and what you really are. (1944) Nazis begin mass extermination of Jews at Auschwitz. (1949) The CIA Act passes. So a lot of really interesting events. (1966) Sheila Scott completes first round-the-world solo flight by a woman. Here's one that's interesting. 1970, British government of Edward Heath forms with Margaret Thatcher in the cabinet. (1972) Secret meeting between IRA and British officials was held. 1977. They formed the Israeli government. Menachem Begin. Menachem Begin. 1977. In 1981, Pope John Paul II hospitalized for 55 days for an infection. 1982, Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin arrives in Washington. Keep that in the back of your minds. There's dots to connect. There's a reason they did that on June 20th. And the reason that government was formed on June 20th. (1988) Another type of emancipation. Supreme Court upholds a law that made it illegal for private clubs to discriminate against women and minorities. 1990, Nelson Mandela lands in New York City to begin a tour of U.S. Remember the Mandela effect? That ties in here. More dots to connect. 1990, asteroid Eureka is discovered. (1994) bomb attack on Islamic temple in Masad, Iran. 1995, space probe Ulysses begins second passage behind the sun. 1996, space shuttle STS-78 Columbia 20 launches into space. Anyway, a lot of interesting things happened on this day, on the 20th. Lots of interesting things. Rome elects its first female mayor. Virginia, virgin. Coincidence or synchronicity? (2018) Donald Trump signs executive order ending family separation at the border for illegal immigrants. Everything happens according to dates. It's because as above, so below. Pierre Charles L'Enfant. Interesting last name, L'Enfant. was that back up here? I wonder if they saw the synchronicity in that. Where is it? Do you want to go outside? There was something about elephant up here as well. If I can find it again. Always gotta watch for those synchronicities. Where is it? I know I saw it. Here it is. Elephantine. You gonna let her outside?
Nah.
Thanks, sweetie. Artemis needed to go outside. She was over here pestering me. Anyway, Elephantine. Always keep an eye out for those synchronicities. They're the breadcrumbs. They are the breadcrumbs. Pierre Charles L'Enfant and the Design of Washington. Adventurous Frenchman and a contemporary of Weishaupt, who was primarily responsible for the name and design of the District of Columbia. Pierre was educated first as an artist, where he studied science of landscape design from the works of André Le Noter, who designed the great historical axis of Paris, and then as a soldier where he learned the art of fortification. Interesting. Paris. There's something I have to tell you about that too, but I can't share it with you right now. Another very fascinating synchronicity with me. In 1776, as a lieutenant, he joined his regimental Masonic lodge, where he met the Marquis de Lafayette and many other young Frenchmen fired up by the new ideals of liberty and equality. In 1777, he offered his services to the new Continental Army of General Washington and was appointed a captain of engineers. Like I said, the Masons used to be the good guys before they were infiltrated. He was part of George Washington's group that helped design Washington, District of Columbia. See, the problem is, and in my search, I came across this too, of people being fearful of what they don't understand. And you'll see a lot of people pointing out the layout of Washington, D.C. and the fact that there's an owl on the ground and things like that, but they don't understand what it means because everything was infiltrated and that information was not given to you because they've been trying to hide it from you. Well, I'm here to give it to you because you should know the truth. When he learned in 1789 that his old friend General Washington was planning to establish a new federal capital down in Virginia, here we go, L'Enfant wrote directly to him announcing that no nation perhaps had ever before the opportunity offered them to deliberately deciding on the spot where their capital city should be fixed. Arriving in Georgetown early in 1781, armed with Washington's instructions to assist the current surveyors, L'Enfant quickly took charge. Andrew Elcott, the chief surveyor, was a knowledgeable astronomer. As above, so below. And he undoubtedly helped fix the precise point on the horizon marking the August 11th sunset. Interesting day. August 11th. Remember, in the codes they told me and told you all, don't fear the 11s. The precise point on the horizon marking the August 11th sunset. Remember that. This angle, 0.22 degrees north of west, did double duty, pointing to the sunset, where 200 years later the triangle containing Virgo would appear in the sky, and also marking the September 18th rising of Ceres over the capital. Fascinating. This one alignment with the capital to the White House graphically unites the two most prominent astronomical goddess images, Ceres and Virgo. L'Enfant's plan was changed through the years, and his steadfast defense of certain points led to his being considered difficult. No, he just wanted it done right. He wanted to keep intact not only the precise sight lines of his alignments. L'Enfant's idea was to preserve a direct view of the western horizon for the mid-August time period when the Virgo triangle appeared in the sky, the earthly reflection of the Virgo triangle. While this view has been destroyed, the careful angle of Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol to the White House still allows us to identify the crucial moment of revelation. Revelation. Yeah. Revelation's all right. There you go. The goddess of revelations? Yeah, the goddess of revelations, that's right. Revelations, the aha moments for all of you and me. Revelations, the book of Revelations, the Tetramorph, represented by the World card and the Wheel of Destiny. I'll do a video about the Tetramorph and about the book of Revelations. Revelations are the aha moments. You guys are all having a big aha moment, I'm imagining about now. And I'm not even close to touching the tip of the iceberg of this story. I do hope you follow, because you deserve the truth. Revelation 12. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, and the moon under her feet. I am a Virgo moon. And upon her head a crown of 12 stars. And she, being the child, cried, travailing in birth, and pain to be delivered. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads, 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon its head. Its heads. They say his heads. I say its heads. And its tail drew the third part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was already to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught up unto God and to his throne. So it's correct. He. Because I'm on a path of discovery right now, along with you, in some ways here. Some of these things I already knew. Some I'm connecting dots as I'm doing the video. The beast, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. The great red dragon. This is based on my current knowledge. This could change, but I believe it's probably correct. That great red dragon that appeared in heaven and cast down the rod of iron, the man-child. That's either Anu or Gabriel, Enlil. So as soon as I made Adonai, he was cast down. You know, we're coming out of the rod of iron and into gold right now. I'm not sure who the great red dragon is. It's either Enlil or Anu. I'm not sure. I'll let you know when I have that figured out 100%. Perhaps we'll discover it together. The moment the sages of 1177, here we go with the 11, foresaw, just after the turn of the 7th millennium of the Hebrew calendar and the beginning of the 3rd Christian millennium, the alignment of eclipse cycle and the sacred calendars occurred on October 3rd, 4th, 2005, and 2 days later, on October 5th, 6th, the great portent appeared in the sky. That's interesting because the 20th, June 20th, 21st is where we rocked from Pisces to Aquarius. So they're stating like I do. It's not a singular day that we stepped into the age of Aquarius. It was a 2-day cycle through the it started in the 20th with signs in the sky on the 21st. The sun in Virgo, from a sidereal perspective, falling on the Virgin's robed shoulder, clothed by the sun. A thin crescent moon on the cusp of Virgo Libra, with the moon under her feet, and pregnant with the conjunction of Mercury, Jupiter, and the alpha star of Virgos, Spica, at the level of her womb. Crowned with 12 stars suggests the return of the cusp of Virgo, Leo, ancient starting point of the zodiac, to the fall equinox. The red dragon, even with all its evil connotations, can be seen as the head of the dragon, marking the solar eclipse, waiting to eat the child, the sun, the moment it is born. So in Washington City at noon on October 5th, 6th, 2005, even though the sun was veiling the event, the great portent moved into alignment over the city's monuments. The White House's south front would have been a good place to view it, and in our computer view, that's our observation point. As the sun touched the meridian on October 5th, the whole of the portent spread out to the east, from meridian to eastern horizon. The first thing we notice is that the Washington Monument is not due south of the White House, as Oliphant planned. It is offset to the east, just enough to align with the fixed star Spica and the conjunction of Jupiter and Mercury. This is apparently not accidental, as the dedication ceremony for its present location, done in 1880, was aligned down the mall with the rising of Spica, or Spica. Further down the mall to the east is the new moon on the Virgo-Libra cusp, under the feet of Virgo, and beyond that, in Libra, is Venus. Esoteric and occult goddess worship has culminated in the design and purpose of Washington, D.C., embodied as the goddess Columbia, who is the new face of an old deity. The design in D.C. was meant to be fulfilled in recent time and was not exactly aligned until now. The great wonder in heaven of Revelations occurred in October 2005. According to dates set forth in the book of Daniel, Mount Zion will be in the hands of unbelievers for 2,300 years. According to the dates set forth in the book of Daniel, Mount Zion will be in the hands of unbelievers for 2,300 years. The Greeks conquered Israel in 333 BC, and 2,300 years later, in 1967 AD, the Jews reconquered it after the 6-Day War. The two periods linked with the abomination of the temple are 1,290 and 1,335 years. The Muslims turned the Dome of the Rock into a mosque in 677, and 1,290 years later, in 1967, East Jerusalem was annexed by Israel. The other period is 1,335 years after the Muslims captured the temple, and that is 45 years after 1967, or 2012. So of course they thought that the Mayan calendar ended in 2012 based on their calendars. There's multiple. You also have to remember time is an illusion, and it's generated by Chronos, Saturn. So time is actually an illusion. So I wanted to share this with you. District of the Goddess, Columbia. I'm going to go on with the story a bit. Let's see. United Satans. Yeah. That's a thing. Here we go, the seal of the United States. This eagle is representative of Zeus, of Gabriel, Enlil, Adonai. Notice I said Adonai, not Adonai. Adonai is Enki, Michael, Poseidon. That is Gabriel. Remember the statue of the goddess that had the snake on one side of her and the bald eagle on the other. Those represent the two. Look at what the eagle holds in its hands. In its claws. Hands. In its talons. You have the olive branch, which is supposed to mean peace, and the arrows representing possibly the Native American tribes. This is just a guess. I could be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong about part of this, at least, because it's in the Native American prophecy. But that olive branch is representative of the goddess. And that is representative of the native tribes that happen to live on the land that later the United States would take from the native tribes. Notice how the eagle is clutching them with a death grip. That's because the one that betrayed us was Zeus, Gabriel, Enlil. He betrayed us. He caught us, and we've been trapped. And I'm going to end this video there, and I'll pick up on the story about Zeus and his betrayal in the next video, so that you're aware. I know you guys have all been divided by race and religion and education. They've done everything to divide you and split you apart, so that you would not understand these things, so that you would not understand that you are being lied to. Then I'll pick up on that story in the next video. So this is the end for now about information on the goddess, your mother. I do love you. You all have a piece of me, and I have a piece of you. We're in this together, that's for sure. And like I said, welcome to the age of Aquarius. Remember that song from the 70s, or the late 60s, I guess. The age of Aquarius. Remember the song talking about the peace and harmony and love? Well, here's something interesting. It was done by a group by the name of the Fifth Dimension. Inanna tries to bring heaven to earth. That's technically your emancipation, and this holodeck coming out of 3D back into 5, the 5th dimension where it belongs. Ergo, your emancipation, setting you free, as in the days of Atlantis. But it's like they told me, I can't save them all. Well, I'm going to do my damnedest to do that. I want to save them all, as many as possible. I don't even entirely know what's going on here, except for the weird stuff that goes on around me. My ET visits that turns out that linked me to the Dogon tribe. Pleiadian visits. My birthday. The freakish synchronicity of stuff coming from my subconscious, me naming things. My actual name, my birth name, my married name. The synchronicity of my significant relationships being on the world card, the tetramorph. 3 pentacles in my left hand. The Holy Grail symbolism from the oldest church known to man. Durus Europus being on the back of my neck. I'm either her or somebody that was placed here to represent her in some way, shape, or form to bring you guys the truth. There's 100 other synchronicities and oddities dealing with me and this whole thing. And I don't fully understand it. I don't pretend to. But I do know this. The mission I was given, I never gave up on it. And I want you to know that. I told you a bunch of lies about the goddess. They've done everything to cover up what she actually is and what she means to you. And what you mean to her. It's frustrating because this is one hell of a mountain to climb. Because not only did they cover it up, but they made her out to be something very different than what she is. Like I said, the gods aren't perfect. They've made major mistakes. Major mistakes. So if they can't give you forgiveness for your mistakes, they're damning themselves. Because their mistakes were much bigger, trust me. A lot bigger. And I'm going to show you what Enlil did. Zeus. Gabriel. He's working on the team now, but it's because he ended up being betrayed. He's got a lot of making up to do for you guys and what he did. And I'm going to show you that. Anyway, I hope you guys can keep up. Please follow. Please listen. Adonai stuck his neck out and put it on the line for you last time he was here. I'm doing the same. I do hope you're listening, because it means your emancipation finally, once and for all. That's what I'm working on. Anyway, love you. I'll pass the moon, the stars, the cosmos, and everything that is, because you are me and I am you. This place is an illusion, the 3D holodeck. Try to keep that in mind, and also remember, destiny is playing out. This is a machine. Dream inside a dream, kind of. And as many of you that I can get awake and realizing what's going on here, the sooner I can set everybody free. So you can return to where you belong. 5th dimension. Heaven. Anyway, more to come.